What's happening, everybody? On today's show, Shane Beamer names his QB1 at South Carolina, but will he stick with it? And Brett McMurphy has 5 teams from the SEC not even making a bowl game. We'll tell you who it is. A Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. And shout out to everydayers who are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDONCollege, get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, we got plenty to discuss, so let's dive right into it. Let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right. Intercepted. Takes the handoff. What a catch.
Around the conference.
And we start over at South Carolina. Shane Beamer making it official this week when it comes to South Carolina's starting quarterback. He named LaNorris Sellers the starter Tuesday afternoon, speaking with reporters. Sellers beats out Robby Ashford and Davis Beville for the starting job. Now, Sellers was widely regarded, expected to be named the starter. If you remember, Shane Beamer even told reporters back in the spring that Sellers would enter the summer as QB1. Now, Tuesday, Shane Beamer made it official. He will be the Gamecock starting quarterback for their Week 1 matchup against Old Dominion. Now, Beamer was asked why, what kind of separated Sellers from the pack. He said, just the consistency. Both guys have been good. When I was over in Florence earlier this spring and said LaNorris was our starting quarterback coming out of the spring, I said that. I did that because he had a good spring, and he was a little bit further along because of familiarity with the offense. LaNorris has been consistent. He said, I think he continues to get better each week. His poise, his consistency, his understanding of what we're trying to do. Sellers served as the primary backup to Spencer Rattler last year as a true freshman, did get a little bit of playing time, had 5 rushing attempts spread across 3 games. His lone touchdown of the season came on a 36-yard scamper against Vanderbilt back in November. Was a highly touted prospect coming out of high school, was a 4-star recruit in the class of 2023, number 17 quarterback in that cycle. But Shane Beamer did emphasize that Robby Ashford could still earn the starting spot behind center on any given day. Shane Beamer said, I met with them this morning. Both guys were great. I really feel like we have multiple quarterbacks that we can win with. Robby really did some good things in our scrimmage Saturday. He's going to help us win football games this season. So something to watch there. Yes, LaNorris Sellers is named QB1. Yes, LaNorris Sellers has earned the starting job. But how long will LaNorris Sellers keep that job? Well, if he struggles at all, if Robby Ashford in small doses looks better, I don't think Shane Beamer is going to hesitate to, pull the plug and make a switch if he has to. Now, again, this comes along with, is Sellers playing, average, but South Carolina's winning games? Okay, then maybe you keep sticking with him. But it's a very interesting thing that I'm sure, mark this in the back of your mind. This is going to come up again during the season. It just feels that way. The odds that Sellers just starts the whole season, every game, I don't know. Feels like we're going to revisit this at some point, and Robby Ashford will get a start at some point down the road. Again, that's if things are going, maybe he just plays really well, and LaNorris Sellers plays okay. Just something to keep an eye on there. We'll address that again down the road. Over at Missouri, Eli Drinkwitz looking for a sellout crowd in their opener next week, where they will play host to Murray State in their season opener. Talking with reporters on Tuesday in Columbia, Drink emphasizing the importance of having a sellout crowd for that first game and issued a challenge to the Missouri fan base. Drink said, quote, we need to sell out this first game. We're a top 11 program in the country coming off a Cotton Bowl win. In my opinion, if we don't sell out the first game, that shows me we're not as where we want to be as a fan base yet. Okay, that's just the reality of it. Don't sit on the sidelines and say, well, it's got to be this game. No, it doesn't. Come watch this team and be excited about this team and embrace this team We need to sell it out. We need to show the rest of the country we're serious about our program. Let's eliminate all the noise about the past history, what the fan base has been, and let's establish what our identity moving forward is going to be. And the establishment of the identity moving forward is it doesn't matter if it's a Thursday night, Monday night, Saturday night. If we're playing Mizzou football, we're selling it out. How about Drink issuing a challenge? It will be a Thursday night. It'll be a week from this Thursday. Mizzou will open at home, and not the sexiest of matchups on that night. But we'll get our first glimpse at Brady Cook and Luther Burden and Mizzou. They will kick off at Murray State next Thursday, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, next Thursday at Mizzou. All right, other camp notes going on. Over at Auburn, Hugh Freeze talking with reporters a few days ago, discussing the preparation for the upcoming season. They put a cap on their fall camp, and classes started up over at Auburn. So Hugh Freeze talked about what his biggest worry is in the offseason. He said the O-line. Freeze saying, quote, the O-line is probably one of the tighter groups we have, but I do think we have a ways to go there. That's probably been my biggest worry about the offense right now. Believe it or not, I think our receivers are going to come on and be fine. O-line-wise, just getting them to gel and get on the same page. Really happy with most of them. Freeze was complimentary of sophomore center Connor Liu, but expressed frustration with the unit as a whole. Said we're not on the same page yet. Connor Liu is very, very sharp, making the right calls, but somehow it's not translating all the time to every position there. Freeze said redshirt freshman offensive tackle Tyler Johnson, who dealt with a hamstring injury this offseason, is now healthy. Ronan Chambers, another potential option at tackle, had a good camp after transferring to Auburn back in May. So some pieces to watch on that offensive line for Auburn. It is funny, though. I've had a few Auburn people say, oh, you're worried about the O-line? I'm more worried about Peyton Thorne at quarterback. So we'll see what Auburn's O-line looks like in that first game. They'll kick off the season against Alabama A&M a week from Saturday. Over at Ole Miss, defensive lineman Xavier Harris was reportedly arrested and booked on Sunday evening. According to multiple reports, the junior defensive tackle was charged with domestic violence and obstructing arrest. Booked on Sunday around 6:42 p.m. Marks the second time in the last 13 months he has had charges brought against him. Back in July of 2023, he was charged with driving under the influence, reckless driving, being a minor in possession, so on and so forth. According to that Clarion Ledger, he entered into a pretrial intervention program as a result. But in light of the domestic violence charge, Harris is being removed from that program, and his case will go back onto the docket. He appeared in 11 games for the Rebels last season, started 7 of those 11 games, played more than 300 snaps between defense and special teams. So a little bit of a loss there. We'll see what happens with him moving forward. Over at Georgia, Kirby Smart giving some injury updates on Tuesday during fall camp. Running back Roderick Robinson, receiver Colby Young, and defensive lineman Xavier McLeod all dealing with injuries. He said there's no timetable for Roderick Robinson's return. He's missed some time due to turf toe. He also added they're trying to get Colby Young back on the field after he missed both of Georgia's scrimmages during fall camp with a hamstring injury. As far as McLeod, Smart did not disclose the extent or specifics of his injury, but said they're trying to get him back. According to reports, Robinson was seen jogging at practice late last week, but did not dress out or condition during Georgia's most recent scrimmage. Of course, depth there at the running back spot. They need some of those guys behind Trevor Etienne at running back. Also Tuesday, Smart was asked about Gunnar Stockton. Is he going to be the backup to Carson Beck at quarterback? Rather than name him as a starter, he talked about the entire collection of the quarterbacks. Dogs HQ also said that Stockton's play from this weekend, based on intel from the game, is that he has secured that backup quarterback spot ahead of Jaden Rashada and Ryan Puglisi. Over at Texas, kind of an interesting piece here. Steve Sarkisian, talking with the media this week, said he got a text from quarterback Quinn Ewers about 30 minutes after practice last Thursday. He said the Longhorns had a team meeting scheduled for 2:45 the next day. Quinn Ewers reportedly asked Steve Sarkisian, he said, "Coach, do you mind if we have a players-only meeting at 2:35, 10 minutes before?" He said, "I'd never got that from Quinn. Years past, it might have been Jordan Whittington or Jalen Ford or one of those guys Just thought in that moment, this guy's really stepping up and saying, hey, I want to have this meeting. I want to talk about 2 or 3 things with the guys to make sure that we are really dialed in. Sark describing Ewers' rapport with his teammates as tremendous right now. So Quinn Ewers being that vocal leader. Over Tennessee, they released their home schedule designations at Neyland Stadium. They will have a hashtag Checker Neyland presented by Pilot, taking center stage for the Vols home opener against Florida on October 12th. We'll showcase Tennessee's iconic checkerboard pattern throughout Neyland. When Tennessee hosts Kentucky, it'll be the 3rd annual Champions Weekend. Teams and individuals who won SEC and or NCAA championships are invited back to Rocky Top. And UT will also honor the 2024 Tennessee Athletics Hall of Fame class on November 2nd. So some dates to watch there for the Vols. And over at Alabama, instead of waiting to name captains until after the regular season, like the Tide did under Nick Saban, they just went ahead and got it out of the way on Tuesday. Jalen Milroe, Malachi Moore, Tyler Booker, and Deontay Lawson all earned captain designation for Alabama this coming season. Tyler Booker taking to social media saying, truly an honor and a blessing. Can't wait to take the field with my brothers. Milroe, Moore, and Booker were all Alabama representatives at SEC Media Days in Dallas. The Tide did take the field for the 16th practice of preseason camp on Tuesday. Couple notes, running back Jam Miller was wearing a black jersey, signifying him as a non-contact participant in practice. Offensive guard Jaden Roberts was not spotted at practice. He was injured in Saturday's scrimmage. DeBoer said he will not miss any game time. Gino Vandemark filled in at right guard. And Alabama coaches have said the battle for the starting spot at right tackle is ongoing. Wilkin Formby was working with the first team on Tuesday. Elijah Pritchett considered by some to be the favorite to win that job. And there you have it. That is the latest going on around the conference. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we will get into some of those predictions. We got broadcast teams announced for the SEC and much, much more. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen. Be back in just a sec. First, I want to remind you, today's episode brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks and makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks will filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks, curation is going to make it easier for you to save on sporting events, concerts, whatever it is you're looking to get tickets for. I love the all-in pricing feature. You toggle that feature, shows your total up front with no surprise fees. Also, it's a feature you have to turn on, but it's pretty cool. I was just looking at it a few minutes ago, and look, if you're an Aggie fan, you're looking to get in the door for the Notre Dame game, it's a big ticket. It's going to cost you a little bit, but Game Time, they got all the prices up there right now. Click all-in pricing, boom. You can figure out upper deck, middle section, lower bowl, what's it going to take? You have to pay a pretty good penny, but look, it'll all be worth it. And Game Time is going to make it super easy for you to do. They're going to take the guesswork out of buying those tickets with Game Time. Go download the Game Time app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDONCollege, get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem our code LOCKEDONCollege, get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This episode also presented to you by our friends over at FanDuel. You've heard us talk all about it. It is FanDuel. They are America's #1 sports book. And, well, we got something a little bit different for you. From now through September 22nd, so basically the next month, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. So really cool stuff there going on over at FanDuel. And, of course, some of the lines they got for you happening this weekend. They're up there right now. Florida State -11.5 against Georgia Tech. SMU -25.5 against Nevada. And UCF, we get to see KJ Jefferson over there at UCF. They are 41.5-point favorites over New Hampshire. Had no idea New Hampshire had a team. But all that is up there over there at FanDuel. Go visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and go download America's #1 sports book. It is FanDuel. All right, college football is back, and it's not too late to catch up before the season kicks off. If you are a big SEC fan, you need to check out our Locked On stable of college experts subscribing to the Locked On College Football podcast. Who has a chance to make the playoff? What teams will cause chaos in their new conferences? Everything you need to know all in one place. Subscribe and follow the Locked On College Football podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. All right, we're just over a week away from kicking off the SEC football season, and yesterday ESPN sharing the broadcast assignments for all 16 games featuring the SEC teams in Week 1. The Week 1 slate is played out from Thursday through Monday for Labor Day weekend. SEC action will begin on Thursday and wrap on Sunday. And Arkansas and Mizzou are the first two conference squads in action. LSU will wrap up on Sunday evening. So here is what it looks like as we get into the thick of it. But we've got on that Thursday night, it'll be Arkansas Pine Bluff at Arkansas. That'll be Jay Alter and Rocky Boyman on the call on ESPNU. So it'll be a 6:30 Central game there for Arkansas. Then it's 7 Central, 8 Eastern. We'll get Murray State at Mizzou. That'll be Matt Barry, Dan Mullen, and Harry Lyles on the SEC network. So that one will be interesting. I'll be rocking the two TVs that night. I get it. A lot of you might watch for a quarter and tune out because the opponents aren't the sexiest of matchups. But we get to see Talon Green and the Bobby Petrino offense back at Arkansas. And we get to see Missouri trying to build off of their monster season last year with Luther Burden and Brady Cook back. Then we get into Friday night. We'll get to see Oklahoma, Jackson Arnold. As members of the SEC, they will host Temple. That'll be a 7 Eastern game on ESPN. Anish Shroff, Andre Ware on the call for that one. Then we get into Sunday's games. At noon, you've got Clemson and Georgia from Atlanta. That'll be on ABC. That'll be Sean McDonough with Greg McElroy. Also at noon on ESPN, you'll have Virginia Tech at Vanderbilt. That'll be Roy Philpott with Sam Acho. 45 minutes later, it'll be on the SEC Network, Chattanooga at Tennessee. That'll be Taylor Zarzer with Matt Stinchcomb, Alyssa Lang, part of that crew. Into the afternoon on Saturday. This is next Saturday. We'll get number 19 Miami at Florida. That's the doubleheader on ABC. Well, actually, it's triple header on ABC. But the afternoon game on ABC, Miami, Florida, that'll be Joe Tessitore, Jesse Palmer, former Gator, on the call there. On ESPN, it'll be Colorado State at Texas with Mike Monaco and Kirk Morrison. Don Davenport work at the sidelines in that one. Into the afternoon, Old Dominion at South Carolina. That'll be on the SEC Network, Dave Neal and Aaron Murray. And then into the night games, Eastern Kentucky at Mississippi State. That'll be a streaming game, ESPN Plus, with Kevin Fitzgerald and Charlie Strong on the color there, getting to go back to Starkville. Kind of cool. Get to hear what Charlie Strong sounds like on a game. Into the evening, 7 Eastern on ESPN. It'll be Western Kentucky at number 5, Alabama. We get our first glimpse into the Kalen DeBoer era in Tuscaloosa. Dave Pasch, Dusty Dvorak, and Taylor McGregor on the call there. On ESPN Plus streaming, it'll be Furman at Ole Miss with Jay Alter and Rocky Bowman. So they're calling Arkansas game on Thursday and the Ole Miss game on Saturday. On ABC at night, it'll be Notre Dame at Texas A&M, Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Holly Rowe. That's the big one on Saturday night. Alabama A&M at Auburn, that'll be streaming on ESPN Plus. Lowell Galindo and Fozzie Whitaker. Ironically, those are two guys from the Longhorn Network. Two Longhorn guys calling the Auburn game. And then the later games in that night, Southern Miss at Kentucky. That'll be your SEC Network game with Tom Hart, Jordan Rogers, and Cole Kublik. And then, of course, Sunday night on ABC, it'll be USC versus LSU from Las Vegas. And that'll be the Reese Davis, Kirk Herbstreit, Holly Rowe crew as well there. So, look, I get a lot of people don't care who's calling the games, but I think it matters. I think some people, you like certain commentators doing certain games. Of course, we all like the SEC Network crew with Tom Hart and crew. So, look, just figured it'd be fun to run through that. College football is literally knocking on the door. And speaking of, College Game Day is going to be back on Saturday. The show is traveling across the pond to Dublin, Ireland for week 0. And they are going to have their celebrity guest picker announcing this week. ESPN announced that Sheamus, WWE wrestler, will be the guest picker. He is a Dublin native, and fitting pick there over there in Dublin. So Sheamus of the WWE will be over there. But Game Day's big trip overseas marks the first time that the traveling college football pregame show will originate from outside the United States. And Nick Saban joining the College Game Day crew. We'll get to see him. Pat McAfee also back with Game Day. He announced that he was coming back. So Reese Davis, this will be his 10th season already, replacing Chris Fowler there on the Game Day set. So that'll be a lot of fun. Hey, Brett McMurphy of the Action Network released his preseason bowl projections along with his playoff teams. And how about this? He's got Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, and LSU all making the playoff from the SEC. So Missouri does not make it. Texas does not make it. He's got the Big Ten also getting 4 teams in. The Big 12, 1 team, 2 ACC teams, and a Sun Belt team making the playoff. And here's his matchups. He's got in the first round Penn State at LSU, and he's got Penn State beating LSU in Death Valley. I think that's, look, you want to put LSU into the playoff, that's fine. You think LSU going to lose a home game to Penn State? A playoff game? Come on. I think any of these big-time SEC environments, they're hosting a home playoff game in round 1. They're not going to lose. But I digress. The other matchups, he's got Iowa at Georgia. He's got Georgia winning that one. And he's got Virginia Tech at Ole Miss. And he's got Ole Miss winning that one. In the quarterfinals, he's got Georgia beating Miami. And he's got Alabama paired with Ole Miss. And he's got Alabama winning. And then into your semifinals, so now you're into your Final Four. He's got Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, and Bama. Georgia and Bama playing each other in the semifinal. He's got Georgia winning, and he's got Georgia versus Oregon in the national championship. And I'm sure a lot of people would sign up for that. Dan Lanning versus Kirby Smart would be a lot of fun. I believe he has Georgia winning the championship. But the rest of the SEC, how about this for some of these games? Tax Slayer Bowl, Auburn versus Florida State. I mean, that would actually be a fun matchup. Is Florida State going to play their starters? Texas Bowl, he's got Kansas versus Oklahoma. So OU, you get to go to Houston and play a team from the Big 12 that you just left. How about this one? Talk about disappointment. Citrus Bowl, Texas versus Nebraska. Good Lord. Things must have went really south for Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns. They got national championship hopes this year. Brett McMurphy's got them in the Citrus Bowl. Then he's got the ReliaQuest Bowl, Michigan versus Mizzou. That's another disappointing one. I mean, that's a cool matchup playing Michigan, but Mizzou, they have playoffs on their mind. Go to the ReliaQuest Bowl. Music City Bowl, he's got A&M versus Wisconsin. That could be interesting. Las Vegas Bowl, Tennessee versus Arizona. Man, Vols must really fall off at Brett McMurphy's mind if they're going to the Las Vegas Bowl. And then the Liberty Bowl, UCF versus Kentucky. So that means Brett McMurphy has Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Florida not in a bowl game. We've got 11 SEC teams in, 5 out. So I got to think at least can Florida and Arkansas and South Carolina make a bid for 6 and 6 at least? Goodness gracious. All right, still more to come here on Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. And I want to remind you guys, this episode presented by our friends over at Ibotta. Summertime is coming to an end, which means, look, you could still fire up that grill, and we're going to have all day watching of college football on Saturdays. You definitely want to stock up on all your grilling favorites and earn cash back on every purchase when you use Ibotta. So you won't have to choose between hot dogs, burgers, sausage. You can get all of them. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop, earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 a year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Simply add offers in the app, upload your receipt, and voila, the money is yours. You can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, so on and so forth. It's time you join the over 50 million users who use Ibotta to earn cash back every time they shop. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store, Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app, start earning cash back, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege. All right, time back into it. Locked on SEC and running kind of long on this episode. Just a lot to catch up on. And we got some recruiting nuggets we got to get to. So let's dive into that as we head over to Alabama. As Alabama added a big-time talent to their recruiting class on Tuesday afternoon. A commitment from five-star running back A.K. Deer. Is it Kylan? However you pronounce it. But I've seen them saying he goes by A.K. But Mississippi native choosing the Tide over options like Ole Miss, Mississippi State. He's previously committed to Ole Miss, but backed off that verbal pledge back in June. And a massive pickup for Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. He's the number 31 overall player, the number 2 running back in the country in the class of 2025. He's the number 3 player from the state of Mississippi, 6'1", 200 pounds, from Quitman High School in Quitman, Mississippi. And Alabama already building a very elite class, and Kalen DeBoer hasn't even coached a game yet. Deer is the 20th player to verbally commit to Alabama so far, one of 6 5-stars currently in this class, including 4 on the offensive side of the ball. And Bama's class ranks number 2 nationally in the 24/7 composite rankings. Ohio State, the only program with a higher rated class to this point. Now, I did do a hit on a radio show yesterday, and I said, look, the key here is kids still want to see what DeBoer's offense and this team looks like. If they go out and lose 4 games this year, they're going to lose a lot of these kids. They're going to decommit. This is still the Alabama or the Nick Saban carryover, where teams are like, we love Bama. Look at the dominance. But if DeBoer doesn't sustain this run of excellence that Nick Saban had, well, you're going to lose some of these kids. But again, tip of the cap. Great job so far in what they've been doing recruiting and answering a lot of critics who said, I don't know, all these guys coming over from Washington, can they recruit the South? Doesn't matter. They're recruiting nationally. Over to Ole Miss, they picked up a big-time addition to their 2025 class, 4-star running back Shakai Mills-Knight. Big addition for the Rebels, the number 252 overall player, the number 17 running back in the country in class of 2025. And coming out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, 6'1", 217 pounds. Ole Miss now up to 15 total commits for the class of 2025. Over at LSU, they got a big win Sunday afternoon, picking up a commitment from 4-star cornerback Cade Phillips in the class of 2025. He was previously committed to the Longhorns. He's a Texas native, and LSU went in there and pulled him away from the Longhorns, and he is going to be an LSU Tiger. Number 187 overall player, the number 21 cornerback in the country, number 27 player from the state of Texas. And LSU also added 2 2025 commitments in as many days. On Saturday, they picked up a commitment from 3-star tight end Mike Tyler to go with that group. They've been recruiting very well there, Brian Kelly has. Over at Tennessee, Jaden Harmon announced a change in which SEC school he plans to go to. He's a blue-chip linebacker from Georgia and announced he is committed to play for Tennessee. He had verbally pledged to Alabama back in April. He's from the state of Georgia, but he is heading up to Tennessee. And Josh Heupel's staff had some nice momentum. They just picked up 5-star offensive tackle David Sanders, who picked the Vols over Georgia and Ohio State. That puts the Vols at 23 verbals for 2025. Over at Florida, they got a commitment from Miami cornerback Ben Hanks Jr., blue chipper in the class of 2025. Had offers from Miami, Louisville, and others. And he's a legacy commit. His dad, Ben Hanks Sr., played linebacker for Florida in the 1990s, was a 3-time SEC champion, 2-time All-SEC selection under Steve Spurrier. And now his son will get to come play for the Florida Gators. 6'1", 170-pound defensive back, number 12 corner in the class. And by the way, just a quick hoops nugget here. The SEC announcing they completed the conference schedule for the 2024-2025 season on Tuesday. Conference play will begin on January 4th and wrap up on March 8th. Each school will face the other 15 programs at least once. And to complete the 18-game schedule, programs will face 3 teams twice. Week 1 is certainly a doozy. Saturday, January 4th, you got Oklahoma at Bama. You got Missouri at Auburn. You got Florida at Kentucky, Vanderbilt at LSU, Georgia at Ole Miss, South Carolina at Mississippi State, Arkansas at Tennessee. You can see Coach John Calipari's debut over at Arkansas as an SEC coach. And, how about Texas at Texas A&M in week 1 right out of the gates? Week 2 should be really good, too, on that Tuesday night, January 7th. How about this? Auburn at Texas. Be a good early season right out of the gates test for Bruce Pearl's crew in the conference slate. The SEC tournament, by the way, set for March 12th through the 16th, Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. And there you have it. You're all caught up on all things SEC. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Now you can go check out Locked On College Football, from NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors. Spencer McLaughlin getting ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. You can find the link on to Locked On College Football in the description of this show, so you don't need to search it. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. I'm Chris Gordy. This has been Locked On SEC. We're back. We're ready to go. We'll be with you here every day this weekend, next week, counting you down to the start of another college football season. Keep it locked right here. Locked On SEC. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.